Hi, everyone. Today I speak with Maribeth Decker. She is from the Sacred Grove, and she has built a practice that helps people really identify and understand the energy their pets are sending their way, both for better companionship, better health, and better interactions among people and their pets. So now let's go see what Maribeth has to say. Hi, I'm Deborah Hamilton. Welcome to my podcast, Why Do Pets Matter? 10 years ago, with my iPhone and a script, I recorded the first episode of the Ultimate Pet Resolution Summit, which chatted with experts about conflicts over animals. Our conversations were intimate, honest, and illustrated how disagreements over animals occur and how those disagreements can reshape people's lives and relationships. In November 2019, I started Why Do Pets Matter, a new podcast that continued these informative discussions. I'm so excited to have you here with me, continuing my exploration into a more meaningful conversation about why pets matter to all of us. My guests and I will share ideas, stories, and experiences straight from the heart, unscripted and holistic. From the bravest moments to the most brokenhearted, we will explore how to resolve disagreements over animals differently. One thing I know for sure is I want to have more meaningful conversations that will help all of us unlock that deeply felt human-animal bond that drives the emotions of conflict. Hi, it's Deborah Hamilton again, and thank you for coming to the Why Do Pets Matter podcast. I'm here today with a longtime friend, Maribeth Decker, who we have followed each other on LinkedIn and on Twitter and on Facebook for years because I love what Maribeth does. She communicates between people and their pets and their pets and their people. And you might think that's a little woo-woo. However, it really isn't, because if anyone has owned animals for any length of time, the ability to communicate with them and find someone who can help you is just the most important piece of the puzzle sometimes. So Maribeth is the owner and creator of Sacred Grove. A few years she would speak with people and have the energy healing among people, but now she really is working with the energy healing that people bring to her of their pets. So Maribeth, thank you so much for being here. And I hope I got that right.
Yeah. I'd add a few little extras in there, and thank you if I can do that. So, I was doing energy healing for people, and this is quite a while ago. And when somewhere along the way, I became a Reiki master and started doing other kinds of healings, and my dogs started communicating with me. So I identify first as an intuitive animal communicator. And I added this on recently for P-A-W, positive changes. So people know why exactly we're connecting with their pets. Or if it's a horse, they're animals. Anyway, whoever.
Well, some
And
people consider their
yeah,
horses their pets.
pets. Yeah, I haven't heard that used too much, but they have the same relationship that I have with my dogs and cats. So yeah, I want to include everybody.
I'll have
Um,
to remember to talk about my out of body experience with my pet, which was definitely energy between us. I really, for all of you who are listening, I really am a firm believer in the energy we bring around us, either in our human life or in our interactions with our pets, is really going to dictate how well everyone does. So I'm so glad Maribeth is here to tell us a little bit about what she does, how she does it. And then, of course, helps people know how to find her if they want to learn more. But before we start, Maribeth, we always ask everyone the first question, the only question, which is, why do pets matter to you, Maribeth?
They matter to me because I realized that what I receive from them is so great. I even say that I work with people who love their animals as much as or more than some of the people in their lives, and that has been true for me because most of my pets, and I have cats, so I'm going to say this: cats and dogs, they don't generally hold grudges, and there's a lot of love there, and there's a lot of affection, and there's also a lot of joy and play. My life would not be as delightful as it has been without having those extra souls in my family. That's the only way I can say it. Now, I'm married. I am married. Got kids, all that stuff. But the pets bring something. They bring something special, and it's around love and connection and playfulness.
And it's sort of like they intuitively know because I just had a fall and was recovering, and the dogs sort of sandwiched me. One was on one side, one was on the other. And I said to myself, they are filling me with this positive healing energy. They know
Oh,
something's wrong, they don't know what's wrong. And yet they are making sure that I'm feeling better.
yeah, and I mean I've had experiences with my cat Bunny, who can be considered ornery at times, but there was one day where I was actually a night where I was trying to get to sleep and my brain would not shut off, and she came and laid on me, and she released something about her purring and love, released all that brain crap, and I realized that I had gone to sleep almost immediately afterwards. It was just amazing. So that's my small example as well of what they do for us.
I think those of us who don't necessarily have cats, I don't have cats, but I'm now babysitting for my son's cat. And my husband used to ask me why I'm up there for 20 minutes. I mean, you just put the food down, you clean the potties, and you leave. And I go, there is such an energy field up there with Jane that I need to fill my cups with. That's how I felt. I needed to fill my cup because she would be there in her purring. It's just sort of this energy wavelength that makes it so important to be in their space and enjoy the positive energy that they're throwing your way in this world where positive energy isn't always what we're feeling.
Yeah, yeah. And I also got to say I think it's mutual that when we respond to them, we make their life so happy. I mean, I just see it every day. It's like, and they're good at saying, "Hey, get off that computer or your phone and stuff like that. Um, Spend time with me." And they're enriched, and so are we actually.
Oh
You
yeah.
know?
Oh yeah. I know that my dogs create the time for me to get up and move for sure.
Mm,
And they create that um need that they have that you have to fill. So you
yeah.
feel wanted. And when you said at the beginning,
Yes.
it's so interesting that they always make you feel wanted, needed, and loved.
Yes. Yes. They also point out at times when our energy ain't so hot. So, my dog T, if there was loud voices going on, that guy Tibor would just leave the room. Talking to my husband, like, maybe we should tone it down a bit. And we actually attempted to fix our conversations to a better place because he was letting us know that that was a difficult energy for him to handle. And it helps us become better people if we're open to it, honestly.
It really does. So tell me a little bit about what your profession is, because I love the fact that you help people communicate with their pets. And I know that some here might say, oh my goodness, but really it is an art. And if you know pets well enough, which I've now been with Irish setters for years, I know they're trying to tell me something. And maybe because we're so close, when you walk into a room and things are a certain way and then something's off and you don't know what's off, and then someone different comes in and says, oh, this is what's off, and you go, my god, it's been in front of me the whole time.
Yeah.
It gives you that ability to see something a little differently, which I think is so important.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'll start with saying that intuitive animal communication is not training because trainers, here's the way I think about it. They work from the outside. They watch the dog's behavior, they modify the behavior, they do with energy, about the language you use and the tone of voice, but it's more from the outside. and I'm sure behaviorists are very similar. Intuitive animal communication is a mind-to-mind connection. And so you're getting to this many times to the source, at least that's what I work for. It's like, why are you doing that behavior? Not just modifying their behavior so they stop peeing on the floor, but what's causing it? And then you go into like talking with the person and explaining it and seeing how it can shift either the energy and the conversation so that you have a happier home. I mean, seriously, who's happy with cleaning up cat pee? I'm not. And or dogs, is it physical? Is it emotional? Because I've dealt with both of those things. So the behavior, where does it come from? And then how do we help them? Because those guys are in our lives for most of us to make our lives better and to have enjoyment. And the more things we can move out of the way that upsets us, the more time we can spend enjoying their company. And
It
so,
really facilitates their ability to give the joy that they bring to us if we can figure
yeah,
out what it is that is affecting them. And sometimes what's affecting them, we don't even realize is affecting us.
yeah,
And when we remove it for them, we go, wow, that was good for us too.
yeah. And it also, I think when you hear how your animal is viewing life or what the source is, it creates a bit of that understanding creates patience and a little more empathy. And that's always, that's useful for us and it's useful for the
Universally good
relationship.
for everyone.
Yeah, honestly. So that understanding is really good. And even with I bring in rescue dogs. So I've got a couple right now and my guy T. They bring stuff with them. We didn't create it, but we can help them move on. And that's one of the things I really love is that you can help even with bad starts. You can start finding out what it was and using energy healing and lots of love to see if we can
And
change some things.
And just finding what you can do to make them feel better, which then, in fact, probably enhances their ability to make you feel better.
Yeah. And the other thing is, most of them would like to make us happy. It's like they are not thrilled when we're not thrilled. I mean, I'm circling around again, of course, but there, when we show them how a different behavior would end up with a happy, relieved human being, they're like, well, now that sounds like something I should try.
Yeah.
Uh, like any if there's a chronic behavior or a habit, they're like people that usually doesn't switch overnight, but you can see progress.
And so, in your experience, people come to you with pets that have just started doing something or continue to do something. Because I know I had an Irish setter who ran in a circle. I thought he was communicating with space. So the aliens would come down and know where to land because we had a circle in our backyard. And then we decided to just relay the grass going a different way, hoping that would stop him, and it did. But I often wondered what he was thinking because he never ran always left to right. He would run left to right like 3 times, stand up, look around, then run right to left, stand up. And so there was something going on. He was very deliberate about it. And I said, there's something going on. And I probably should have called you. However, we replaced the grass and so he feels a little better now. Maybe there was something under the grass. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. I can't talk about that
Right.
specifically, but yeah, when you find out the why or what's going on, I'm thinking, well, with Tibor, we think he was he's passed away. He left us in 2022, in probably a dog fighting situation where he is a bait dog. And so helping him trust human beings again, that was a really big deal. And we saw a lot of fear, aggression, and things like that. Um, so that's a big story. But even the small stories of dog I worked with who wasn't using the pee pads. And we checked in with him and he said he doesn't want to step in his own pee and poop. So the woman started putting more pee pads around because she was gone all day and he wasn't too good at keeping it till she got home. And it did help, you know. So you just don't know what's going on there till you ask.
Yeah.
And,
And
and
it's
again, it's relationships. That's really what I'm talking about is people and their pets.
And if you know there's something that's up, and sometimes I'm sure you've had people call you because I know I should have called you. There are things that are just slightly different. There's just something different. And because you know your dog, they're not getting up on the couch anymore, or they're sleeping in the puppy cup too long, or, they're if the other dog comes up and gets them out of the puppy cup, that's really different. Why is that happening? What happened while I was at work that created this, difference in interaction between them?
Yeah, there's an example. I was working with a woman and her cat, and the cat, I won't get it exactly perfect, but the cat was afraid to come into the living room. And she said, I don't know what the heck happened. And I asked the cat, and I said, it feels like something fell down on her or right around her. And she says, oh, yeah, that's right. The ceiling caved in the living room when we were in there. I'm like, well,
Do you think?
yeah, but we sometimes forget that, we solved it. We're fine. And the
Yeah,
cat's
you
gone.
moved on, you had the ceiling fixed, and yet,
Yeah, and it's not,
you know,
we know it's not going to happen again, but you haven't told the cat. So we,
and
we did some work with her. Um, it releasing the energy of that fear and the promise that it's all going to be good. But yeah, you don't know. Sometimes you don't see it.
it's it really is interesting because I've been in Irish setters for years, and there are times when they get frightened of something, and you're looking at them and you're like, what? Now we have spaniels, and we attribute every bad habit to her being a spaniel. Presume it's the spaniel thing. Uh, but it's interesting that she is incredibly reactive. And I know intuitively there's something going on in her little brain um, to protect my husband. And
Mm,
I need to somehow, so I'll be calling you after this call. I need somehow to turn that off for dogs and people. That
yeah,
yes, we appreciate it. Yes, we know you're doing this for a good reason. Coming down hard on you is not necessarily going to fix it. Yet, let us know what we can do to make you understand that we're all safe, no need. Because my Irish
yeah,
setter walks by, and I don't think he would let anyone abduct me. However, he doesn't pay any attention to people or dogs, very few.
yeah. It's a different mindset. Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't always work, but sometimes you say, that's what you think your job is, but to tell you the truth, that your job is to let me be the protector and you go out and you walk with me and you have fun.
Right.
And when you're enjoying yourself, that's your job because then I have a wonderful life
Yeah.
hanging out with you. And sometimes that little bit of shift helps
It's
them.
it really is so important. What are some of the most difficult things you've come across that you were so grateful you could help the people solve? And what were some of the things, if you can talk about them, because I know in
Yeah.
mediation it's confidential, but you can change it
Um,
from a cat to a dog or whatever. But they really gave you the satisfaction that, wow, I'm so glad I made that. As Roger Kara says, our pets are not our whole lives, but they make our lives whole. And
oh,
so the reason people would get in touch with you is to make sure that our lives and their lives are whole, that they're not feeling pressure or anxiety, and we're not feeling pressure and anxiety.
well, I'm going to use a physical example because I do medical intuition and I had a couple of those things. We've been talking about relationships. Uh, so I'll go here because it
Perfect.
actually surprised me. Um, there was a dog who would be walking around and then they'd just fall over and they couldn't figure it out. And they went to the veterinarians and I use veterinarians, so I'm just telling the story. And they were figuring it was some kind of a neurological brain problem. And I went in and I said, it feels like the heart, like there's that sinus rhythm, and all of a sudden it stops and then it starts up again. and so they went back in and they did see that the heart was, I'm not I, I'm not sure what the right term for it, but that was a good description of what was happening to their heart. And they ended up with the little pacemaker. Dogs can get pacemakers now. So this wonderful dog who was not ready to go, he's got a pacemaker and is living their best life. So that was shocking to me, but also reassuring. Um, and from a personal point of view, I'm looking at my dog Tibor. Um, when he came in, he was so fear aggressive and he wouldn't even come into the house. We had to coax him in, and he finally decided everything was okay. And he liked sleeping on the bed with me. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. My dogs have always slept on the bed with me. And then when my husband tried to get in the bed, he'd go, "Arr, arr." And I was like, this is not going to work well. So I had a conversation with him about the fact that this is Mary Beth and Charlie's bed, and I'm going to get you a whole new bed just for you. I'm not even going to let the cats sleep on that bed. And you're welcome on our bed, but you're a guest and you can stay on the other bed. And that shift, he he shifted. He shifted right then and there, and he got his new bed. I picked the cats up if they were on his bed and said, "Yep, that's yours, Tibor." And he'd come up and stay on the bed for a while. But that was like, oh goodness, that's one less dog that had to be rehomed or
Yeah.
sent back to the shelter because of that. And I've worked with other animals like that, but that was the one that came
It's
first.
so interesting because animal behaviorists try to do what you do by observation, but and for everyone out there who thinks I'm a little woo-woo too, I do think that the energy the dogs are surrounded in from the day they're born until the day they come into your home, because I know the energy as best I can. I mean, the puppies are alone at night when I sleep, but I'm in the whelping box from beginning until I let them go, and I know what they've experienced, both good and bad. In fact, I'll
Mhm.
tell you that I'm as clearly I've said it about 4 times. I'm a big energy believer, so I had a baby
Yeah.
monitor while I was upstairs watching television, and the puppies were downstairs, and I heard something clank. Nothing after that. So I said, well, nothing happened, right? Because there was no screaming of puppies and I didn't hear everybody running with joy, destroying the dog room. So I figured, okay, nothing happened. And there was this nagging feeling, which I know probably comes when you're doing these kind of things. There's this nagging feeling, go downstairs, go downstairs. And there have been several times when I ignored that nagging feeling. I broke my ankle on one of those times when the nagging
Mhm.
feeling was, do not go outside in the snow. And I said, of course I can go outside in the snow. And then it went, we'll take your phone. And I said, I don't need my phone. Well, of course, I broke my ankle in the snow about a half a mile from my house and didn't have a phone. And of course, they said to me, well, we tried to tell you and you ignored it. Then we tried to tell you to take a phone and you didn't do that. So, you're on your own. But I
Yeah.
just, this nagging feeling that I really needed to go down and check. The
Mm.
heat lamp had fallen in the dog pen, the puppy pen, on linoleum. And, it's uh, um, a heat, not a light, but a sort of a ceramic thing. And it was
Yeah.
down on the linoleum, which would have set my whole entire house on fire, everything, had I not gone down. And was there a burn hole on the linoleum? Yes. But did I get it before catastrophe hit? Yes. And it was only because I truly feel energy occurred that told me, get up and go. I know you don't hear anything. I know you think you're being, a hypochondriac and you're overreacting to something, but it really clearly was something that if we are open to it, and of course that's the biggest thing, right, Maribeth, with everything you do,
Yes.
if the
Yes.
pet and the parents are open to it, it'll work. And if they're not open to it, it may help, but skepticism makes it sort of have to go through a desert, over a river, up a mountain before it gets there.
It's a good example. I feel like it's just like some big wall too. It's my feeling, but you're right. It's it doesn't come through easily when you got skepticism.
And when
Uh,
it's our pets, if we are willing to just take a step back and say, listen, the vet wants to do major surgery. It's not an emergency, so it's not something we have to act on right now. But like your heart, why not take a, and then explore it? Why not take a gander and then explore what might be the reason for what is occurring as opposed to what the vet thinks? And I love all my veterinarian friends who will be listening to this. I know that you're probably sitting there going, "Oh, Deborah, you've gone off the deep end." I don't think so. I think that animals can let us know what's wrong if we just take the time to listen. And I'm
Yeah.
sure, Beth, because of what you do, you know that.
I do know that. And I can receive information on a physical level. I don't diagnose. I mean, I was just saying, here are the symptoms and what I'm figuring out. And I just want to say I love my veterinarians, and nobody, and we all know nobody's perfect. So getting an extra bit of information can sometimes be helpful. And that's all it
And
was.
finding it as a positive, right?
Yeah.
Instead of taking it, "Oh, you don't believe what I said about the neurological and blah, blah." Find as it a positive. I mean, I have a lot of vets who, when people come in with Dr. Google, they go, "What, don't they trust me?" And I sit there and I go, they trust you and they need to keep their head screwed on because it's taken them like a week to see you. So they've done Google searches. And so they are trying to do a Google search on what it is that you are doing. And,
Yes.
it is so funny to know that it's how you take that information in, whether or
Hmm.
not it's going to really help or hinder. You don't want to hold on to it so tightly that, "Oh, well, this is the only thing it could be," because that's what Maribeth said. But you want
Right.
collaboratively, right? I mean,
Yes.
I had a lot of vets who, probably you've worked with them as well, at first are very skeptical. And then after you enable this to be a little more open and above board, they're like, "Holy shit, I never would have found that."
Yeah. Yeah. And, yeah. And so we're getting there. We're getting there because there's got to be, you got to have some proof. And that's why I ask people for testimonials, because you hear it from me. Yeah, that's just me talking about me. Of course, I'm going to tell you all the great stuff. But I also love the idea of collaboration, and you do what works and you get as much information as you can, and you make an informed decision. And I think that's what people are doing, uh, to see how best they can be a good guardian for their pet.
And listening to their pet. I mean, I know there's a
Yeah,
doc
listening.
who I had gone to, who I said, "I'd love to do one of those body scans." My husband had just had a kidney tumor removed that was found because they were looking for something else. So,
Yeah,
look what we found, and this needed to be removed. So I said, "Well, I think I want to do that." And he goes, "Why would you want to do that? You'll find something that you have to worry about." And I said, "No, I'll find something that I won't have to worry about because I found something." It's something that I'd like to know about. Maybe it's nothing. However, I'd like to know if it's nothing or if it's something, and I'd like to know it was there. So there are some of us who want to just be proactive. I never want people to be in analysis paralysis, because you and I both know that does not work for the pet. It doesn't work for the vet. It doesn't work for the owner. And yet being able to have some grounding. I mean, I always hope that people recognize that when they make the choice, if their pet is really suffering, and I'm sure you've been there for that as well, to let them go, that they recognize that a day early is better than a day late.
yeah. And I'm going to go, I agree. And I'm going to go a step further and say, uh, from working with a lot of animals and people through the animals' transitions, and sometimes even the people's transitions, um, when our pets chose us and came in, I believe they gave us their medical power of attorney and said, "You take care of me the best way I can. I trust you." And that includes medical decisions that are hard. And I really want to say this because this has helped me so much through everybody that I've lost. They do not hold grudges in the afterlife, because I know that they live on. What they remember and what they take with them is that we made the decision in love, for the best decision we could at the time, with love. And that's what carries on for them.
Yeah.
And for me, that has helped me with a lot of second guessing and grief. about the timing. And that's what I wanted to offer to other people is if you did it with love and you did it in their best interests
With the information you had at the
with the
time.
information you had at the time, it'll be all good. They're not looking, they are not looking for perfection. We humans are, but they're not. They're looking to make sure that you've made the decision, the love is the primary factor there.
And just because you can maybe do something that might prolong their life for 3 months, 6 months, a year, should you? And is that about them or is that about you? And I have a
Yeah.
perfect example of that because I had my deepest heart dog, Daisy, have osteosarcoma and break her femur. And everyone at the top medical center in New York said, "Don't worry, we'll cut her leg off." It was her back leg, and obviously it was a femur, and she'll be fine. She won't know. I said, "Did she tell you that she won't know that she doesn't have a third leg? A leg?
She
She's only
didn't know that.
I said
How would
she's
she not know that?
yeah, exactly. I said it won't affect her life at all. She will just get along fine. And I said, and the dogs that you've cut the legs off of, um, and I'm not criticizing anyone who chooses to do this. So please don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing. If that's the choice you make, that's fine. And I'm sure your dogs did have a lovely life moving forward. For me, I live in what I think the dogs live in, which is the right now, the here and now. And I wanted her to not have to navigate that. And so when I went to pick her up from the surgeon, who was lovely, he said, "Well, I have to agree with you. The Daisy who's here right now with a broken leg is a different Daisy than you would take home if we removed her leg." He said, "So the future would be different because she'd be a different Daisy." And I said, "Yes, and to me, in my mind, that's about me."
Mm-hmm.
Said, "And it's not about her. And so I don't want her to have to navigate that for 3 months, 6 months, a year." Maybe she would be one of the lucky ones who live 4 years after surgery, but most of the osteosarcomas don't live more than a year after surgery. And on the flip side of that, I had friends who had one of my dogs, and she was 13 and had some metastatic cancer, and they wanted to remove it. And I said, "Why do you want to put her through abdominal surgery?" And they said, "Well, because we think she can do it." And they were very close to her. I always call them her North Star. And
Yeah.
so I said, "Well, you know how I feel. I wouldn't make her wake up from abdominal surgery as a 13-year-old dog. I just wouldn't do it. It's like a 95-year-old person going through abdominal surgery." And they said, "We understand, and we're going to try. And if there's anything in there that looks fishy, we're going to let her go." And I said, "Fine." So of course there was nothing in there that looked fishy. The vet was my vet of 25 years who also said, "I think she can do it." And I said, "All right, fine." And I think she had 3 days of discomfort, and now she is 15, cancer free and absolutely wonderful. And I said, "Well, they understood her energy, and I wasn't with her." And so, what I would have done is different than what they would have done because they were living with her. So, you have to enable people to read the energy that they're living with their pets. And that's probably what you do.
I do try to let them know people like to hear how bad the physical pain is and also the emotional situation about we see our animals slowing down and we think, oh, life must be terrible, and then they're just like, yeah, no, I'm getting old, but I'm okay, or this is not, I'm not experiencing bad. I didn't hear the cancer
And
diagnosis.
even if I did, I don't know what it means.
Yeah, exactly. So I am not living the reality you're living right now. I feel what my body feels. And so, and going there, then when they hear whether there's somebody who says, I can't take this anymore, or somebody that says, hey, I've got some more life in me, um, and then they take it and they make the decision because, again, as you said, they're living with the being. I'm just coming and bringing them more information. Um, and I think it's helpful to have some outside information, even if it is woo woo, to maybe confirm what they were feeling anyway.
I think that's absolutely right. And I'm loving this because I know that you also at times help people at that end of life hear what the pet, is feeling or thinking or
Yeah.
saying. Because as you just said, maybe, it just is aches and pains. And who of us who are over 21 don't have aches and pains when we get out of bed in the morning? I used to pop out. Now it's sort of like I roll out and have to wait for everything to pop into place. So, we're different, but if we take the time to, visit with someone who is as intuitive as you to help us understand how our pets, we won't jump to conclusions.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Even if it is a short time, like a friend of mine down in Southern California had her cat, and we'd been working with him for quite a while. And veterinarians, I apologize, but I'm going to use you again. The vet was pretty clear that it was the cat's time. And I believe from a medical standpoint, yes. But this guy said, I think I'd like to just spend a little more time in the sun. And so she brought him home, and he wasn't walking around much anymore, but he was just sitting on the patio enjoying the Southern California sun for, it was 3 weeks. But there was a little piece there that she had given him
And
and herself. What's that?
that he'd given her.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really good. So bec that's all I could say is that there's also the energetic and the attitude that's there as well as the physical issues.
So, Mary Beth, I have loved this conversation. I wish we could go on forever, and I'm going to have you back because I think that being able to normalize this kind of discussion. I mean, we all talk to our pets. I don't care who you are. You might not own up to it, but you talk to your pet, and your pet talks to you. I hate to crush you, but
Mhm.
there are things going through your brain that your pet's sending there, whether you realize it or not. um, Especially when like it's dinner time, they're letting you know. But how can somebody get in touch with you in case they want you to help them better understand what their pet's going through or what they're going through with their pets right now?
Thank you for asking. So I would go to my website. I've really set it up with lots of information so you can find out more about me. And it's at sacredgrove.com, SACREDGROVE.com. And from there you can reach out to me. So please do.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And I think that if we could create that synergy between pet owners, pets, and their caregivers, be it their groomers, be it their kennel people, be it their veterinarians. I mean, this is a collaboration or a collaborative effort to make sure this pet is seen and heard and understood. And I know that's the basis of my practice, but it also is the basis of all of our interactions with every being. So I'm so grateful to have you here today, Mary Beth, from Sacred Grove, so that people can understand they can have a better, if they think they're hearing something from their pet, they can actually call somebody who can help them.
There you go. Did you ever thought if my dog could talk or my cat or my horse, they just told me.
Yeah, they're letting
You
me
heard
know.
him.
And I can tell
You
you,
heard him.
my horse, before we close, so my horse, I had him for about 2 weeks, and we were really kindred spirits. I'd ridden him for a few months before I bought him, and his leg fell in a hole. It was one of those uh, sore covers that went up and his leg went in. And I'm there and I intuitively knew if I screamed, he would be frightened. So I just sat on the ground with him and I looked him in the eye and I said to him, okay, so I'm going to pull as hard as I possibly can, but you're going to have to do most of the work and you're going to have to use your 3 legs that are not in the hole. So let's try this. And sure enough, we got out. And then, as you well know, right, I started to shake violently from head to toe because that's when you start thinking about what could have happened. Being able to communicate very quietly, very softly, so that the two of you can be on the same page. And he was looking at me as much as to say, yeah, that sounds good. And I knew him, but I didn't know him as well as I knew him 30 years later. But we, from that moment on, had this incredible bond that he always knew that I was there to keep him safe.
Thank you. I love that story. Thank you for sharing that.
It was such a, that's why this is such an important field for people to really investigate, think about, maybe dip your toe in, because your pets will really appreciate you for doing that, so that you and they can have a deeper connection, a deeper understanding. So Maribeth, thank you so much for coming, and for everyone who's been with us. I hope this has been helpful. And until next time, kiss your pets for me, because they matter.